It's 5 in 10 from Skywatch TV for Friday, March 1st, 2024. The 5 things you need to know as we head into the weekend are Friday 5, topic number 5 this week. Ukraine, a number of items this week related to the war there. First, we learned that Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky got approval from his parliament to extend martial law by another 90 days. This is not the first time they've done this, but this time it's significant because it covers the scheduled date for presidential elections. So by extending martial law past March 31st, the scheduled election date, President Zelensky has essentially postponed presidential elections until further notice. We also learned this week from the New York Times that over the past 8 years, the Central Intelligence Agency has constructed a network of what it called secret locations along the border between Ukraine and Russia, turning Ukraine into what the Times called an intelligence gathering hub for the United States. 12 secret locations in all. These funded by the CIA. The Times notes that if the U.S. does not send more money to Ukraine, we may lose this valuable intelligence gathering capability. Also this week, French President Emmanuel Macron on Monday said that sending Western troops to Ukraine is not out of the question. This was after the issue was debated at a gathering of European leaders in Paris. It's come out since Monday that the only nation that really left the door open to sending troops to Ukraine to fight Russia is the Netherlands. And I don't think France and the Netherlands are going to want to go alone here. Now, despite the outcry from Western leaders over the last couple of weeks, since the sudden and unexpected death of Russian dissident Alexei Navalny, including his widow, who just happened to be at the Western-oriented Munich Security Conference when it happened, Ukraine, who'd be the one country you would assume would take the opportunity to blame Putin for Navalny's death, Ukraine is not, saying that it was natural causes, appears to have been a blood clot. Tragic, unexpected, essentially a stroke that killed Navalny. Ukraine's spy chief told a gathering of journalists this past Sunday, "I may disappoint you, but as far as we know, he indeed died as a result of a blood clot." So NATO needs to look elsewhere to convince citizens of the West that we need to continue sending tens of billions of dollars to continue the war in Ukraine, now in its 3rd year. Meanwhile, things are heating up on the western side. This topic number 4, the Transnistria region of eastern Moldova. This is apparently the next place that most of us will have to go back to a map to learn where it is, even though I've got ancestors who actually emigrated from what is now Transnistria in the 1890s, Germans who emigrated to Russia, what was then Russia, and then came to the United States when they just found things were not what they had been promised. Anyway, the small breakaway region of eastern Moldova, which is home to about 220,000 Russian citizens and not coincidentally is also on Ukraine's western border. On Wednesday, the leaders of Transnistria issued a formal request to Moscow for protection in the face of increased pressure from the Moldovan government. And now Russian state media reporting that the country's parliament and Federation Council preparing to respond positively to Transnistria's request. Legislators in the Russian Duma have put forward a request to both the Federation Council and the State Duma, urging them to implement measures to safeguard Transnistria. That means sending more troops. The Biden administration responded by saying it is closely watching the situation, calling the breakaway republic occupied by Russian forces, although they've been occupied since the Soviet Union broke up more than 30 years ago. There are still Russian signs in eastern Moldova as opposed to Romanian, which is what most Moldovans are, ethnic Romanians. But not in Transnistria. Anyway, the United States, according to the Biden administration, firmly supports Moldova's sovereignty and territorial integrity within its internationally recognized borders, end quote. That's from the State Department on Wednesday. It is interesting that the State Department's support for the international borders and territorial integrity of other nations only seems to apply to nations that are aligned with the United States against Russia. See Serbia and the secession of Kosovo. Topic number 3, Israel. The IDF says it was not, in fact, did not ignore, I should say, a warning that about 1,000 SIM cards, Israeli SIM cards, had been activated at midnight the night before the deadly October 7th invasion by Hamas. This by the Nukba commandos of Hamas. There were dozens, and IDF intelligence says, yes, they did pick up on that and did report it to IDF command. But what happened to that after that was reported is still unclear. The IDF denied a report on Israel's Channel 14 News last weekend that IDF Chief of Staff Herzi Halevi was notified about this suspicious activity about 6 hours before the start of the massacre, but did nothing to kick it upstairs and notify anybody. According to this report, IDF intelligence notified Halevi, who did not follow up. IDF spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari denied the report and said that ultimately the events of the night preceding October 7th will be thoroughly investigated and presented transparently to the public, end quote. Now, I know a lot of people have looked at this and said, see, this is more proof that this was done in collaboration with the Netanyahu administration, who just wanted justification to go to war with Hamas. That just doesn't follow any reasonable chain of logic. Netanyahu is enough of a student of history to recognize that, say, unlike here in the United States, where most Americans, not all, but most Americans did not blame George W. Bush for what happened on 9/11. Again, I say most Americans. In Israel, the events of 1973, the Yom Kippur War, which caught Israel flat-footed, meant the end of the career for Prime Minister Golda Meir, who up until that point was very popular in Israel. Netanyahu, a student of history, would know that this would be a lousy gamble. So I don't follow the logic, and I will say this. Friends we have in Israel, some of whom are currently serving with IDF or the IDF reserves, don't buy that theory either. The consensus seems to be that Israel became too complacent and too dependent on electronic surveillance and not enough on human intelligence. But again, clearly something failed, and we pray that that information will eventually come to light. Topic number 2, lawfare. That is a term used for the weaponization of the legal system, particularly in the persecution of one's political enemies. See Donald Trump. Liberals are freaking out after the Supreme Court this week agreed to take up the question of presidential immunity and possibly push back any criminal trial that Trump may face until after the November election. Supreme Court said it would consider whether, and if so, to what extent does a former president enjoy presidential immunity from criminal prosecution for conduct alleged to involve official acts during his tenure in office, end quote. In other words, Special Counsel Jack Smith is trying to prosecute Trump for inciting insurrection on January 6th while Trump was president. But if he's president, is he immune from prosecution, even after he leaves office? Well, the matter will be taken up by the court the week of April 22nd, but even if the court does rule against Trump, that decision would take months, likely coming after the election. Again, liberals are freaking out, saying that this is a conspiracy, man. The Supreme Court, stacked by Trump during his time in office, is going to side with him. This is a win for MAGA. Just remember here that the people who are crying about the Supreme Court possibly ruling in favor of Trump and, destroying our democracy by not allowing justice to take its course are the same ones who want to protect democracy by denying tens of millions of Americans the freedom to vote for their candidate of choice. Coming up, pity the poor uni student in the post-COVID world. That and good news, if you haven't yet signed up for Skywatch TV's virtual conference, it's not too late. I'll explain why next on 5 and 10.
Well, let me take this occasion right now. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to make sure you know how you can get your copy of this incredible new book in the Blood Alliance special offer. This amazing opportunity includes the brand new book, Blood Alliance, the attack on Yeshua's threshold covenant and its impact on you in the midst of our prophetic times, by best-selling author Messianic Rabbi Zev Porat, that details the current-day diabolical influence of the biblically identified Chaldean spirit, the false, counterfeit threshold covenants Lucifer is planning to use to deceive millions of Christians in the days ahead. what the Old and New Testament has to say about the temple on the Temple Mount, what the Sabbath really is, and how the threshold covenant brings it to life. But we're just getting started. This must-have collection also includes Zev Porat's all-time best-selling book, Unmasking the Chaldean Spirit, which details his stunning supernatural conversion from a deeply Orthodox Jewish man to faith in Jesus Christ as Messiah, as he faced literal demonic manifestations, temptations of great wealth to denounce his faith in Yeshua, yet through it all he pressed on with a glowing zeal for the Word of God and the people of Israel. But that's not all. This unbelievable collection also includes best-selling author Carl Gallup's book, The Rabbi, The Secret Message and the Identity of Messiah, which reveals how Israel's most venerated Orthodox rabbi, Yitzhak Kaduri, came face to face with the true Messiah and said that it was Jesus, all while efforts by global media and powerful elites to cover up this broad, sweeping, stunning revelation totally collapsed. Sold separately, these items hold a retail value of $60. Yours now for your donation of only $35 plus shipping and handling. So act quickly. You can scan the QR code on your screen using the camera app on your phone for instant access to this special opportunity right now, but it's available only while supplies last, so don't delay. Visit us at skywatchtvstore.com or call 1-844-750-4985 and ask for the Blood Alliance special offer.
Item number 1 today, they never told us we'd have to learn the material. That appears to be the complaint coming from students at Glasgow University in Scotland, claiming that a return to in-person exams is causing anxiety and sadness. You see, during the lockdowns, schools, including universities, went to open book online exams, which means basically you didn't have to learn the material, because if you got an open book exam, you get a question, you just go look it up or search for it online. But now students at Glasgow University saying they will have to sit this summer's exams in the traditional closed book handwritten exam the way they used to be done in the old days. And outraged undergrads are not happy. A fourth-year microbiology student, Rosie McCrone, said it left students feeling very low and sad, telling the BBC, quote, "I've not felt this anxious since I was a teenager in school. Up until now, we've been tested on the way we format an argument. We've never been tested on our ability to recall information." We've never been tested on our ability to recall information. Isn't that the definition of learning? We don't need to know anything. We just need to know how to use a phone. Skywatch TV's virtual conference, Countering the Darkness, is now available, and you can sign up and get instant access. If you have not yet signed up, you still get 90 days access to all of the material from the time you sign up, not from yesterday's launch date. So you haven't missed anything. So don't delay. Take advantage of it right now. You get 24 cutting-edge presentations, including the last presentation by Dr. Tom Horn. Plus, 6 feature-length documentaries from Skywatch Films, including the 2 award winners, Silent Cry, The Darker Side of Trafficking, and Inhuman, The Next and Final Phase of Man is Here. All of that available for the next 90 days from the time you sign up at defenderconference.com. That's defenderconference.com. Our good friend, Messianic Rabbi Zev Porat, has a new book out, Blood Alliance. He and his good friend, Pastor Carl Gallups, our good friend as well, joins us on the panel this week. Joe Artis Horn moderating a fascinating discussion on the topic of threshold covenants and why they're relevant today. A threshold covenant was basically the sacrifice of a small animal on your doorstep to guarantee the safety of any visitors to your home. How does that apply in the spiritual sense? It is relevant. You'll find out how by watching this week's program. You can catch it at our website right now. All of our video content is at skywatchtv.com. You can also see it right now at our Roku or Apple TV channels. The over-the-air broadcast, you can see our broadcast schedule from our partner Christian television networks at skywatchtv.com/channels. You can also watch it right now, youtube.com/@skywatchtv now, rumble.com/skywatchtv, or by downloading our free mobile app, which not only gets you all of our content, it has the added bonus of bypassing the gatekeepers of big tech. The ones who cancel us for saying things that, violate community standards. Yeah, it'll probably happen again someday, but you can safeguard against that by downloading our app for iOS, Android, or Amazon Kindle Fire phones and tablets. We have links to their app stores at our website, skywatchtv.com. Thank you for watching as we keep watch, and have a blessed weekend. I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is 5 in 10 from Skywatch TV.